There we go.
Oh, let me put the curtains on.
Curtains? What curtains? Hello and welcome again to your monthly Grow It Yourself Zoom check-in call. And for those of you who are not online, which is most of you here, welcome. This is our forum to address any of your personal challenges or just talk gardening, organic gardening, specifically permaculture gardening, and to guide you through the resources that we have in Grow It Yourself. So I wanted to spend this recording, this month's talk on showing you what you actually have under your fingertips, have subscribed to. So here we go. As I will share my screen and oops, did I do that right? Nope. There we go. So let's say you log in to Grow It Yourself. First thing you'll see is this. Not that, that's watch. The first thing you'll see is initial observations. And that was supposed to be your week 1 and 2 for those of you who are new to Grow It Yourself. This is basically where you start, and this is how what document you will use to observe your backyard. If you guys have new properties, the first year is observation. So definitely this is the document that you want for that. Then as you progress through, you'll see different things that we have printed for you throughout the months that would help, specific to plants, specific to what to do in month 3, brassicas, legumes, composting, for instance, how to do an herb spiral, how to do a square foot garden, and so on and so forth. So please, these are some resources that you can use. Feel free to explore this. Take a few minutes, even if you haven't gardened, or if you have, go online for 15 minutes and just check out the resources that you have so that your questions may already be answered in here. And then we have the collection of articles that we've posted in our blog. And then here are the videos. And these videos are all from come even from the start, from the very, very start of planning your garden, which is to draw your garden, how to choose your plants. This is all about permaculture guilds, those plant guilds that work well, how to do seed starting. And I wanted to focus today on what if you didn't want to go into it too deep, but you just wanted to do something really quickly. So Jeff Lawton calls this an instant garden. And in this video, I show you how you could build an instant garden with virtually all the tools that you already have probably in your backyard or your neighbor's backyard. And some of them you could find for free. So virtually you could build this garden for free. So you start with your food scraps and maybe some manure, and you put that down before you put down some cardboard. So that you can get from Home Depot, or you can use a fork if you have some sort of what do you call that? That pitchfork, right? And after that, that's where you put your food scraps.
So even if you can't clear, if you put cardboard over it, it's going to kill all the weeds. And then it's kind of like free green fertilizer for next year.
Yeah, so the cardboard is an organic weed barrier that's free, that comes from your Amazon boxes or whatever boxes you have. And some people actually soak the cardboard first in water so that what's the reason for that? Why would you soak it?
It'll break down a little faster. But
yeah.
I think if you have a decent amount of soil,
you don't need to, like, especially if you want it as a weed barrier, then you do want to suffocate those weeds to begin with. So. All right, well, there you have it. That's pretty much a nutshell of like super, super fast making your garden bed. So we want to see what you've been doing. Please reach out to us via email, hop on one of these calls. And
we love photos.
We love photos so we can show them off in our email broadcasts to everyone. What else, Dave? So here's where the webinars are found, as you may know. If you wanted that, this is, I'm not sharing. Oops, I'm so sorry. Let me go back to sharing. So for those of you who've known us for a long time, this is our original webinar where I really go deep into, I just graduated from permaculture school, and I go 10 crucial steps, also known as Yeoman's Scale of Permanence, but it's revised, as to how we think about our gardens in 10 dimensions virtually. And these are really going into permaculture in depth with these little mini master classes that you have on your fingertips. This is plant design. How do you choose the plants that you need? And what plants grow in what season? How to save money gardening, which is the cheapest, it really is the cheapest hobby you can have. In depth on composting. If you wanted to start a school garden, which we did, here are some steps. Just a really good, and this is a really easy minimalist garden webinar. So lots of other things. And then you have your profile, which we can probably skip. Sorry about that. And then the journal. So this one is a work in progress, but it's really, this is not our monthly total. This is not 1.2 pounds because I haven't been updating it, but it's really a great tool to use as an online, to capture everything that I tend to lose paper a lot. So capture the year online with this.
So we have a number of new videos that are going to be coming on board. We got a new camera. So we've been spending some time with that recently. So that's why I haven't had time to be able to circle back and kind of wrap up the work on the journal and the designer. But there's going to be a lot of really cool videos coming soon. There are videos on berries, videos on how to construct your own bee house.
Mason bee house, if you guys are familiar with the Mason bees, Osmia bees, they are early season pollinators that we easy to keep. We keep them. There are hardly any maintenance. You just have to make their house and they will take care of themselves and use that house.
I'm instructable on making a potting bench using pocket screws. So all kinds of exciting stuff coming this summer. Then in July, we have a guest speaker who's going to come and educate us all about how to create a more healthy ecological system with the birds and animals in our gardens.
Yeah, so permaculture design is ultimately about the whole system, thinking of the whole system and not saying, oh, I have this problem, how am I going to attack it? So I must have one solution for one problem. It really is holistic. Like the solutions for one problem will ultimately solve a lot of other problems and optimize everything. And this, our friend Nancy, who's become our friend through the course of our work, has written a book called Humane Gardener. She used to be vice president of the Humane Society of the United States, and she's the most humble woman I've ever met, that I did not even realize that until like 1 year after our friendship, because she's not highbrow and she's so down to earth. So she's going to talk about how we should really look at the bugs and pests in our yard as allies and use them, not use them really, but like kind of live with them. And how do you control pests that decimate your crops as well? I would love to hear from her about that, because she's the number one person to talk to about what eats what and how everything works together humanely in a backyard full of pollinators and animals and snakes and bats and all sorts of things that you never even thought of having. I used to be scared of snakes. I used to almost, I almost called.
Used to.
I'm still scared of snakes, but I let them alone. And even spiders, like even if it was a really toxic spider or whatever, I would really get scared probably, but I think I am less so now because I feel like something else is going to eat that thing, or something's wrong with my garden that this spider is suddenly here. If that, what is this most toxic spider? And even if it is the most toxic spider, what?
I mean, the things that are more annoying in the garden are the flies,
the mosquitoes for him.
Pests, right? So the
spiders are actually good.
Population down.
Yes, so they eat them. So when we see spiders, we're not that alarmed anymore. And snakes are good. Why? They eat the rats. They eat the rats. And I once saw a huge snake, like as huge as a garden hose, as long as a garden hose, coiled around outside our fence. And I just like tippy-toed around it. But then I was like, okay, that's good. I'm so glad he's here, because then we back out into a big strip mall shopping center, and a lot of rats come from there. So that snake is actually keeping the rats at bay. So things like that. Just wanted to show you a little chamomile from my garden.
So what's in bloom in our garden?
Yes, so, oh my goodness. I should have brought
the front yard.
My front yard is very pretty.
A
pollinator garden, but it's a secret. It's still a permaculture garden. It's because I actually plugged in eggplants that I'm not supposed to do, but I had no more room, no more home for the eggplants. Where else was I going to put it? But I put it really close to to my house, so nobody can really, and behind other screens, so nobody could really see it. I have strawberries, gladiola. So everything is always popping and blooming and hopefully designed in such a way where I have repetition. If you could, this is in the resources. What are the elements of good aesthetic design? Repetition, balance, proportion. Oh no. Two other things that I can't, there's like 5 things. Repetition, balance, proportion. You have to use like odd numbers. 3, put 3 flowers, 3 bunches of, I put in 3 mums, chrysanthemums instead of 2. Like you don't want things to stand in center. Though I've broken that rule. Things are in round, it's in a round shape. I'll show you one of these days. We'll show it
Some
in
nice
Instagram.
things. We put in some dill this year, and the dill has gotten about 3 or 4 feet tall, and it's just really gorgeous. These huge heads of loose dill flowers. There's the alien monster.
Oh, the cardoon. So Dave had wanted to.
It's related to an artichoke.
Yes, a cardoon is related to an artichoke. It has an out of this world look. Like it looks like a plant from Little Shop of Horrors.
Well, I think you're exaggerating. That's not that.
Because its leaves are really sharp, but its flower is supposedly. Oh, we saw it once upon a time.
It's like a huge thistle kind of.
If you want to have a huge thistle, go.
Well,
Go.
you can peel it and
then eat
like
it.
an artichoke.
It's pattern, right? Pattern. Is that one of those?
Yeah, so that's the front.
Yeah, pattern,
We have
repetition.
grapevines climbing up our staircase.
Grapevines, yes. We have lots of herbs: mint, cilantro, chamomile, lemon balm, echinacea, everything that you would like to have in a tea, herb tea, we have in our front yard. Oregano. I don't have chives. My chives did not, but we have lots and lots of, we have a walking onion in the middle of it, scallions, fig tree.
Oh, the fig's starting to.
Yes. Strawberries still producing, marigolds, begonias, calla lilies. 2 trees called feijoas, or 3 feijoa trees.
They're pretty small, so
yes.
That's my experiment.
I think the
it's
passion.
Like a tropical fruit, kind of a little bit like a guava.
I think the passion flower came back again. Sorry, my screen is moving. Passion flower came back again this year, but I haven't trained it up anything. It's trying to find the light. And to check it out, I have a little bit of it on my Instagram, but I'll be posting more and more now that the flowers are blooming. Makes for really good pictures. Lettuces, lots of lettuces came from there. Today we had tacos, so lettuces came from our garden. We have beans in the backyard.
Yeah, so
all our 25% of our food is
for us. June was largely the end of the spring harvest. So I harvested the garlic. The potatoes are starting to kind of do their last gasp. I'll be harvesting them in the next week or two. Kind of finished up our peas. The peas are all wrapped up. So it's kind of the spring stuff.
Carrots are coming in.
Yeah,
now.
I pulled in a lot. Well, they're not like harvesting the carrots.
So we pull in like every day about $2.99, $3 worth of carrots or more. Kale and cabbages. They're all about $3 right now in the organic stores, and that's what we get every day.
So all the stuff that had started a little earlier for the summer, now they're starting to really get big, and they're starting to flower and kind of get ready to do their fruit production. So those are largely your cucurbits, your solanaceae, and your legumes. So at this point, you can still do wave after wave of bush beans. Like don't start any pole beans now, but bush bean only takes about, I'd say, 40 to 50 days before it's pumping out beans. So you can do waves of these things every week. You could start a tray of bush beans, and literally you can get, like, we're expecting maybe 40, 50 pounds of beans.
Yeah,
and you can freeze these, so it's not going to be a waste.
Yeah.
So even now, let's say you've been busy up to this point, and you're like, oh no, it's too late. What can I do for the summer? There's things that you can plant right now. You can plant that only take 40 to 50 days to grow. You can plant basil. Like I said, you can do bush beans. You can also, so it's the same thing, you can do waves of basil. You start a small tray of basil every week, and then you just put it into your garden. And the nice thing about that is instead of getting your harvest all at once, you'll have succession, so it'll actually tie in with your meals. And the other nice thing about basil is you can, you don't pull out the plant by its roots, you just cut it back, harvest some leaves, and it'll grow back just like a lettuce in a week or two. So you can get successive harvests from the same basil plants. You could also do okra. Okra is a real fast grower. It's all dependent on how much you like okra.
Mm-hmm.
You could even start some of the faster growing cucurbits like cucumbers. You can do cucumbers now in almost all parts of the country and still be able to do cucumbers. So yeah, we have a lot of stuff coming in the back. We got the beans starting to come in.
Rhubarb, which we now need to freeze. What else do we have? Our gloomy berries,
Trombantino.
Rampicante that we told you
about. They're starting to climb up our trellis. We have cucumbers. All the cherry tomatoes.
Elderberry bushes. Echinaceas are also in the back. We can do a lot more in the back, but we need to clean it out. So these next 2 weeks are for us to just cleaning.
Now is also a good time to start. I think I mentioned this last month, but
they're fall crops.
If you're a real nerd like me, and you like getting abundant harvests, so I really get a thrill when there's a harvest that's so big that you're just like, wow, I can't believe that these plants produce so much.
That's the collard greens right now. Alabama blue from Southern Seed Exposure is just bonkers. Oh my gosh, there's more than, like, it will feed, I would say it would feed an army. Like,
100 people.
I'm pretty sure it would feed 100 people. Out of 6 beds, collard greens, and that's not the only thing that's planted there. There's like everything else. It's just so huge, man. Should have brought it downstairs. It's like just bigger than my face. So lots and lots of collard greens.
When you're talking about annuals, the 2 keys to get that abundant harvest are the soil. So you've got to start with the soil. So that you might as well plant the legumes anyway, because those will improve the soil. But the second thing is that timing. I've learned that once you find the right heirloom varieties, it's all about and you already have the soil, then it's just about getting that time right so that you don't worry about, though it's not sunny and the weather is weird. If you get that timing right, you give yourself a leeway of a couple of weeks, and then you don't have to worry about one of the worst things is you have your tomato plant and it starts producing, and then it gets cold and the frost comes, and all these green tomatoes are on your tomato plant, and you're like, well.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen at the school, because we're planting them intentionally late for the kids. So 3 things.
Sorry, what?
Soil, timing, and the variety needs to be right. Because some varieties stink, especially if you buy them like Burpee.
There's a huge difference in varieties, and it's specific to your location.
Yeah.
So if I say, this is the best variety, well, it might be a nice tasting variety, but it might not produce the best in your location. So there's no replacement for testing.
Yeah, that's why the first year is observation. Like, experiment all the time. You're always growing.
And don't just test like, I forgot to get seeds, I'm just going to run out and buy all these Burpee seeds, because like 99% of them are going to be hybrids. So you won't be able to collect them because they'll just mutate. They're not stable. The seeds will not be stable. Second of all, a lot of the things that they're looking for in terms of qualities for, like Burpee, what's important for them is you have big, healthy plants. They don't really, and that you have good yield, but they don't care about like the taste or anything.
It looks good for the market.
Disease resistant.
Yes.
not even the taste. The taste is not important to them. It's that it grows big and it's resistant to like
all the
pesticide.
bugs, yeah.
That's
Not
like,
pesticide, the pest, like resistant to pest.
oh yeah, resistant to like fungus and stuff like that. So you'll see I mean, when you see in the description of something like that, it'll be resistant to Fusarium wilt. That'll be like the very first thing that you
Fusarium
see
wilt, yeah.
in the seed description. Like, okay, I'm the person eating it. That shouldn't be the very first thing that I see. Anyway, I'm get off my soapbox, but for the fall, there's a lot of crops that you can grow. You can actually get more yield with your fall crops than you can in a lot of parts of the country than with your summer crops, because there's less pest pressure and tends to be more consistent temperatures. So the plants, a lot of plants, they prefer that like consistent, coolish temperatures, and they will bulk up a lot more. Also, a lot of the root crops can be sweeter in the fall. So
yeah,
we're going to start a bunch of things for the fall now. All the brassicas, like brassicas love the fall.
Yeah.
So you have your cauliflowers, your broccoli, your Brussels sprouts, your
cabbages, kale,
collards,
beets.
your radishes. If you've never tried growing winter radishes or turnips, you should really try it, because these things are not as spicy and they can grow very large and still be tender. So brassicas, just like load up on the brassicas now. Then all your root crops, so your carrots, your beets, your parsnips, you can start all of those now. Your alliums, so
Onions are alliums.
yeah, so leeks. Now is a perfect time to start leeks.
And you'll harvest them next spring, right?
Yeah.
So leeks are longer to harvest, but it's so worth the wait.
You can start now if you want onions this year. You can do what they call a scallion type onions. So they don't form a bulb. They will just grow a thickish green stalk. But they have these Japanese style varieties they use in like stir fry that are actually really fast growing, maybe like 50, 60 days. And you just kind of sprinkle them out there, and they're pretty easy to take care of. So you could start those now for the fall. So you could do onions that you would harvest in the fall. You can do potatoes. You can do a second crop.
Second wave of potatoes.
Yeah.
You can do peas, but you start them as early as now?
Yeah, I would start your peas now, because the pollinators start to wind down around October, November. So even if your peas can survive the weather, they won't. They kind of self-pollinate. You won't get a lot of pea production beyond some of the later fall months.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd recommend still beans at this point.
Okay. Well, we have about 2 minutes left, and I just wanted to say we're talking a lot, and I wish I could just show you more than talking, but a lot of the resources are in Grow It Yourself. For those of you who are subscribed, which you are, you can look at it online and on our Instagram account. If you want to see our garden and what we're talking about and what's blooming, what's growing, what we're harvesting, our Instagram account, permaculture_garden, has that. Wanted to add anything?
No,
All right.
talking quite a lot.
No, that's great, because all the info is from him. All right, guys, so we will see you next month. I hope you guys have great gardens going right now, and that you're not online because you're too busy gardening. So have a good night, day. Bye-bye.
Bye.